and the rise of the Mycenaeans. This was the world of Homer. From the 15th century BC onward, there's an increasing Mycenaean influence in Minoan culture. 1450, evidence of widespread destruction on the island of Crete. 1370, destruction of Knossos, or Knossos. It's the capital of Crete. Knossos. The most likely culprit is the Mycenaeans because that's what they did. They conquered. That's how they spread their influence. And being a warlike civilization, they probably saw Crete and said, well, we could take them on, no problem. Look at them. They don't even have city walls. Do it. So they did it. And the pottery shows a blend of the two cultures. It's not like the Mycenaeans came and destroyed all Minoan pottery and said, you will do it this way now. No, there was a synthesis of the two that you can see. Well, first we'll look at this warrior crater. And we know that Mycenaean civilization was widespread because we find their pottery in Cyprus, Egypt, and the Levant. So they got around the Mediterranean, conquering and trading and all that stuff. But what's interesting is in the warrior crater, we have depictions of human forms, but they look a little different. Let's see, you probably can't see it very well, but you'll notice that first of all, they're not harvesting, they're soldiers. Of course the Mycenaeans would put depictions of soldiers. That's what they do. But also, there is a stunning lack of articulation of the human form. Unlike the harvester vessel, there's no articulation of muscle structure, skeletal structure. It's just an outline of a human form dressed in warrior garb. They spent more time on the helmets, the shields, and the armor. That's what was more important to them. So it's definitely more stylized. They're not going for naturalism here, which becomes even clearer when you look at their abstraction of Minoan motifs. Remember, the Minoans were all about marine life. That's what was on their pottery. The Mycenaeans did too, but they abstracted them. Remember the image of the octopus from the Minoans? There's an image of the octopus from the Mycenaeans. Same animal, very different approach. Look at that horse. No horse like that exists. Its middle would go. And then you probably can't see it very well, but there are these human figures up here. They look like pygmies. They're tiny. Those are supposed to be warriors on a chariot. And this one I find I find interesting because it looks just like a pattern, but if you take into account that they were known for taking Minoan motifs of marine life, you ask yourself, what is that? It's definitely an abstraction. It could be perhaps seashells, possibly, but my guess would be waves or, swirling water, whirlpools or something like that. Let's see if you can get a closer look. And down here, that's supposed to be, those are supposed to be depictions of sea anemones and coral, but they don't look very naturalistic. So, you can see how the Mycenaeans took these, or it could be that the Mycenaeans took the Minoan motifs and abstracted them, or the Minoans kept their motifs and took Mycenaean abstraction. But given the fact that the Mycenaeans were the dominant culture at this time, I'd say they were the ones that were doing the taking and then doing what they wanted with it. They had their way. Moving on. To Athenian painted pottery, from geometric to Hellenistic, and this is what you would call the development of what we know as classical Grecian pottery. What we just saw were Minoan and Mycenaean, the two first big civilizations of ancient Greece. Now we're into Athens and the world of democracy, the development of the city-states, and all that. Mycenaean culture was in decline by the 13th century BC. Once again, there is evidence of widespread destruction. With the fall of civilizations comes destruction, internal or external. In this situation, it's quite possibly internal. Maybe the kingdoms started fighting each other. I mean, if you've read Homeric epics, you know that they were constantly, fighting each other because they're warriors. That's what they do. And also, if you want to read a good book on hoplite warfare, Victor Davis Hanson's The Western Way of War was particularly illuminating. Anyway, before we move on to that though, I think it's time for a little bit of an intermission. See you again in a little bit.